coming today. I teach Buddhism for free, and this is where I learn, purelandschool.com. So today, before I start preaching, I want to show you a very easy to understand example of why we Buddhists can talk about death and afterlife in such a way that we don't feel bad about it, and people just avoid that word, the word death or afterlife, because people don't know anything about that. So let me show you this. This is life. This is what you know. This is all you can see from there to here, right? This would be the curtain of death. You don't know what's beyond. You only know this, and you only talk about this, like enjoying life, having as much fun as you can before death, and everything you see life like this. You know, from the moment you're born until you die, and you only focus on this. You like life and joy, having fun. But after that, people have no clue. That is why it is not weird for us Buddhists to talk about death or afterlife, because we can see this. What's beyond the curtain of death? Actually, we talk a lot about this, because this is very important. This would represent afterlife. So when you are able to see your next life, when you can see beyond the curtain, it means you have attained enlightenment. So don't feel bad when I talk about death or afterlife, because I will be doing that a lot. So today I want to talk about the 8 sufferings. There is something called the 4 suffering, 8 suffering. And it's not like 4 plus 8. It's 4 like principle, like basic suffering, and then another 4. So in total it's 8. So this is called the 8 sufferings. The first suffering is suffering of living, suffering of aging, second, then suffering of sickness, and of course suffering of death. These are the first 4 sufferings. And the worst would be death, of course, because death takes away everything. And then suffering of separation from the beloved, suffering of encountering the despised, suffering of not gaining what one seeks, and suffering of being of the flesh. So I have to explain one by one. Suffering of living, to be born into this world, and to live through all the difficulties or hardships in life, in general. Like everyone suffers, right, from different things. And we all have difficulties when trying to find happiness, right? Life is hard. You realize, let me ask you, do you think life is full of joy and super easy? Like if you don't do anything about anything, would you find joy? Or is it more like swimming upwards, like the salmon, like going, like making efforts and trying to find happiness? Isn't life like that? Striving for happiness and making efforts. Because if we do nothing, we suffer. And if we do efforts, we suffer as well, right? So life is hard. Life is suffering. And this goes against people's belief. People think life is, sometimes they think it's easy, or there is joy, but they continue to suffer all the time. That is because they haven't eliminated the root cause of suffering on human beings. This is the doubting mind, or the dark mind. The dark mind. This is called the dark mind, darkness of no light. there is another name, but pretty much is a mind that has not yet attained enlightenment. When you attain this state of mind, you eliminate this root cause of suffering. That doesn't mean you will not feel pain or something like that. It's not like that. But life gets way easier, you could say. So, the first suffering from eight suffering of living. So basically, living life, because all people suffer. People with money, without money, with power, without power, we all suffer, because living is hard. So then, suffering of aging. No one wants to age, right? Maybe a kid would like to be a grown-up so he can drive or something like that, or go to parties. I don't know, things you cannot do when you are a kid. But then when you get older, you want to be back to a kid and don't have so many responsibilities, right? Or maybe you are like when I was 22, I reached that point and I said, okay, I would stay here in the 22. That's it. But I can't. I have to continue to age. We all have to, right? And no one likes that, especially when you get to that point where your body starts not responding properly. So that's the suffering of aging, okay? Then suffering of sickness. No matter how healthy that we can be, we can eat in a very healthy way, but eventually we also get sick from different stuff. All the time, like any time we are encountering different diseases. There are some people who get sick very easily and some of them not, but no one can escape sickness forever, right? Same goes for death. We can be very healthy, have a very nice, healthy, long life, but eventually we have to die anyways, right? So this is the worst one because it takes away everything you have gained. So it gives you the question of why do we live? What is the purpose? We're gonna end up losing everything anyway. So what's the point? So the answer to why we live can be found in Buddhism. This is the most important question, and this is then the answer. You can find it when listening to Buddhism. What is the purpose of life, right? So to continue, those were the four sufferings, and then fifth, suffering of separation from the beloved. In life or death, we have to separate from people or things we love. You can have a dog you like or a cat, and it will probably die before you. That means you will suffer this separation from the beloved. So you cannot keep your cat or your dog all your life, right? And you have to suffer this again and again, not only with pets, you know. So, and also in life, sometimes, for example, you marry someone never thinking of divorcing, but you may end up divorcing, right? So that's also separation, and you don't want that, right? But especially regarding death, because death exists, we have to separate from many things we like or love, and people, all kinds of things. So that's the separation from the beloved. And then suffering of encountering the despised. This means to encounter things or people, things you hate, and you have to bear with it. Why? I hate this job, I hate this whatever, Why this happened to me? So this is the suffering of encountering the despised. Things you don't like, but it's like that, right? Then, suffering of not gaining what one seeks. During your life, you may be thinking, oh, I want this, and then you attain that, but you don't find true peace of mind, so you want something else, and you never end up like finding that thing that you don't know what it is exactly that will bring you peace of mind. So that is called suffering of not gaining what one seeks. But when you attain enlightenment, you have that joy. Actually, you only have that joy through enlightenment. Then you realize this was it. This is the purpose of life. This was the reason for me to be born human. Yeah, this is quite deep. it might be a little difficult to understand. Then the last one would be suffering of being of the flesh. So this is all the 7 previous sufferings into one sentence. Suffering of the flesh. Why? Because of this suffering, like sickness, aging, dying, or other people dying, so that means you suffer from separation from the beloved, right? And all that comes because there is death, right? And so that means, and there is death because we have bodies. We live in this world of impermanence. Things crumble eventually, right? And sometimes not even eventually, sometimes suddenly. Yeah. So suffering of being of the flesh, it means that because we have bodies and we live like this, we suffer all of these things like aging, sickness, death, separation. So it's pretty much a briefing of all the 7 previous suffering. But if I just say suffering of being of the flesh, you will not understand. So Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha here on earth, from 2,600 years ago, he used to explain things like this. He would list the sufferings, for example, in this case, and the last one would contain all the previous ones. Okay? So again, if you want to take notes, suffering of living, suffering of aging, suffering of sickness, suffering of death. These are the 4 majors. And then suffering of separation from the beloved, suffering of encountering the despised, suffering of not gaining what one seeks, and suffering of being of the flesh. These are the 8 sufferings. So yeah, life is suffering, guys. Sorry about that. But suffering ends when we attain enlightenment. Why is that? I have to continue to explain this in my next videos, because I think this video is already too long. That was not the original idea. But yeah, people are all looking for happiness. All we want is happiness. We try different ways or methods. We think one thing or another thing will make us happy, but it's not working, right? And then you try another one, and you never find true peace of mind. And even if you feel you do, you cannot take that with you to your next life. So the only happiness that is true and real, and that will not abandon you, will accompany you to your next life and all your future lives, it would be the happiness that you can find through Buddhism. You can find enlightenment. You can find true happiness. And this will never abandon you. This will stay with you. This is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you found me because of Instagram, you can follow me, and there is a link in my bio. You can click on that and you will access all my previous videos and the playlist that will grow and grow in the future. So my goal is for you to watch the videos, learn as much as you can, and eventually join us, join the school, purelandschool.com, so you can listen to the masters, join the group sessions, have your private sessions with your own master, and attain supreme happiness as soon as possible. Happiness that comes through enlightenment.